The First World War was a terrible tragedy. Millions died. Europe was in ruins. People yearned for a way to prevent another such war. From this desire for peace, the League of Nations was born. US President Woodrow Wilson was a key figure. He believed in a world where countries worked together to solve problems. The League of Nations was his brainchild. He envisioned it as a forum where nations could talk before resorting to violence. Wilson's ideas were groundbreaking. He truly believed in international cooperation. He championed the idea of collective security. This meant that an attack on one member of the League would be considered an attack on all. It was a powerful idea, meant to deter aggression through strength in numbers. The League of Nations was formally founded in 1920, part of the Treaty of Versailles that ended the war. It aimed to prevent future wars through diplomacy and collective security. Many countries joined, hopeful for a more peaceful future. The League seemed like the answer to the world's prayers. However, there was a glaring problem. The United States, the country that had proposed the League, didn't join. This had huge implications for the League's future. It cast a long shadow over the organization from the very beginning. Why did the US, after championing the League, refuse to join? The answer lies in the complex world of domestic politics. The US Senate, responsible for ratifying treaties, was divided. Many senators, known as isolationists, opposed joining the League. They feared it would drag the US into foreign entanglements. They believed in staying out of other countries' affairs. These senators argued that the League would limit US sovereignty. They didn't want to be bound by the decisions of an international organization. They were also wary of the collective security clause. They worried it would commit the US to fighting in wars it didn't want to be involved in. President Wilson campaigned tirelessly for the League. He believed it was essential for world peace. However, his efforts were in vain. The Senate, unconvinced, refused to ratify the Treaty of Versailles. The US, therefore, never joined the League of Nations. This was a significant blow to the organization. It lost its most powerful potential member. The League of Nations without the US was significantly weakened. It lacked the military and economic might that the US could have provided. This made it difficult for the League to enforce its decisions. It also made it less effective at deterring aggression. Despite its limitations, the League did achieve some successes. It helped resolve minor conflicts and promoted international cooperation in areas like health and labor. However, its inability to prevent major conflicts ultimately led to its downfall. The League's failure to stop the Japanese invasion of Manchuria in 1931 was a major setback. It also failed to prevent the Italian invasion of Ethiopia in 1935. These events showed the League's weakness. It was clear that the League was not strong enough to prevent another world war. By the time World War II broke out in 1939, the League of Nations was effectively irrelevant. Its failure was a stark reminder of the importance of international cooperation. It also highlighted the need for a more effective international organization. World War II was even more devastating than the first. Millions more died. Entire cities were destroyed. The horrors of the war, especially the Holocaust, shocked the world. It was clear that something had to change. Once again, the world yearned for peace. Leaders from across the globe recognized the need for a new international organization, one that was stronger and more effective than the League of Nations. This time, the United States, under the leadership of President Franklin D. Roosevelt, was determined to play a leading role. Roosevelt believed that the United States could not afford to repeat the mistakes of the past. He was convinced that the United States had to be engaged in the world. He also believed that the United States had a moral obligation to help create a more peaceful world. This marked a significant shift in US foreign policy. Even before the war ended, the Allied powers began planning for a new international organization. They held several conferences to discuss the structure and goals of this new body. The most important of these was the San Francisco Conference in 1945. At the San Francisco Conference, delegates from 50 nations drafted the Charter of the United Nations. The charter outlined the UN's structure, purpose, and powers. It was a testament to the world's desire for peace and cooperation. The UN was officially born on October 24, 1945, when the charter came into force. The United States played a pivotal role in the UN's formation. It was one of the main driving forces behind its creation. It also contributed significantly to the drafting of the UN Charter. This time, the United States was determined to make the UN a success. The United States made several major contributions to the UN's structure and early initiatives. First, it was instrumental in the creation of the UN Security Council. This body was given the primary responsibility for maintaining international peace and security. The United States, along with the United Kingdom, France, Russia, and China, were made permanent members of the Security Council. Second, the United States provided significant financial support to the UN in its early years. This helped the organization to establish itself and carry out its mandate. Third, the United States played a leading role in many of the UN's early initiatives. This included efforts to rebuild Europe after the war, promote economic development, and address humanitarian crises. The United States' active involvement in the UN marked a significant departure from its isolationist past. It signaled the country's emergence as a global leader. It also demonstrated its commitment to multilateralism and international cooperation,